On the church calendar, last Thursday was the day of the Ascension. It's never been a major celebration, particularly in American Methodism. It's a little different because coming 40 days after Easter, it always lands on a Thursday. And besides, it's kind of a strange story. Here it is in the first chapter of the book of Acts. As they were watching, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him out of their sight. While he was going away, and as they were staring toward the heaven, suddenly two men in white robes stood next to them. They said, "Galileans, why are you standing here, looking toward heaven? This Jesus, who was taken up from you into heaven, will come in the same way that you saw him go into heaven." Well, what do you do with a story like that? I mean, after all, we no longer live in a three-story universe where heaven is up and earth is below. We have a different understanding. We know the world is round. And yet, the imagery of that language is still with us. We know how it feels to be as high as a kite, and we know how it feels to be down in the dumps. We know what it means to be on top of things and on your way up, and we know what it means to be on your way down or going downhill. As a Floridian, I've always been a little frustrated with people that talk about going south in a negative way. We know that language, that imagery is still with us. So what's the church saying when we remember the Ascension? Bishop Will Willimon said the church has never worried about whether the Ascension was scientifically factual. Its only claim is that the story is eternally true. I can't say anything to you about the astrophysics of the Ascension, but I think I know something of what it means to say that this Jesus, the Son of God who came down to us in the incarnation, became one of us, went down all the way with us into the grave, and then was raised to new life, has now ascended, been lifted up high above us. The one of whom Paul says, every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. In the letter to the Ephesians, Paul writes, the one who went down is the same one who climbed up above all the heavens so that he might fill everything. That's who Christ is, ascending above us to fill all things. I wonder if the early church held on to this vision of the Ascension through persecution and hardship by knowing that the one they followed, the Christ, is the one who is lifted up, the one who is before them, above them, in all things. It's that kind of vision, that kind of hope and promise that can see us through hard and difficult times. So I want to ask you in these days, where do you find the power to see it through? Where do you find hope when it seems that everything is closing in around it? How do you hold on to love in a world that has so much bitterness, anger, resentment, and hate? How do you continue to believe when you lose things that are precious to you? I'd submit to you that throughout church history, folks have held on because they believed in a risen Christ. James Russell Lowell described it in his hymn when he said, truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne, yet that scaffold sways the future, and beyond the dim unknown standeth God within the shadows, keeping watch upon his own. So, in the memory of Ascension Day, may we find the strength of the vision and hope that is ours in the one who has been risen above us. Thanks be to God.